Hello everyone, welcome to Mindspeak on Herald Global. I am Saimik Sen. Joining us today, a versatile Indian actor known for his notable work in both films and web series, Mr. Sumeet Vyas. Mr. Vyas, thank you so much for taking out this time for us. Welcome to Herald Global.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so let me begin by asking you what draws you to a role? How do you choose your script?
I mean, generally, what I look for is the people who I'm going to be working with, because you end up
Sure.
spending so much time and energy in exchanging all these ideas with each other. So it's more fun when you have people on the same wavelength as you, or
Sure,
perhaps people who know more than you. Then you can learn
of course.
a bunch of things. That is one. And then I look for something that I haven't done before. Uh,
Okay.
Unless in the script or in the story or in the role. If it's a role that I have previously done or versions of it, then I tend to stay away from it.
Okay.
Unless it's a friend, and then I just do it because it's a friend.
Sure. Okay, so Permanent Roommate has made you a household name in the industry. How has the journey been
Mhm.
like so far?
Great. It's been a wonderful journey. And I mean, I had been acting before Permanent Roommates came out for quite a while, actually.
Sure.
But this thing really, I would say, got me access to a lot of people, to a larger audience,
Very true.
and that's, I guess, very important for every actor and every artist to be able to cater to a larger audience.
Okay.
Uh, so it certainly helps, and yeah, it's heartwarming the amount of love and affection that I received because back through and from work thereon.
Sure. Okay. How has your experience as a writer influenced your acting and vice versa?
I mean, if you also write, then the first thing that you understand is that you are not the most important person in this project. That's the first realization you have, because actors are generally, really pampered on sets, and uh,
It's
you know,
true.
they're shown a lot of love. They get more love than sometimes I feel they deserve, because there are a lot of people who work very hard to bring something out there. But because they are the faces of it, they tend to get all the attention. So the first thing you realize that. And secondly, you also understand where the writer is coming from. If you also write, then you understand the mechanism of it. You
Sure.
understand the writer's meter, because every dialogue writer has a certain meter in which they write. Uh, so I guess in that sense, it does help. And also you
Okay.
realize that you are there in the story to play this particular part, not just, as an actor and as an artist, that's your role. You don't underperform there, and you don't supersede that. You realize your potential and your role in every scene better, I guess.
Okay. So, Vir the Wedding opposite Kareena Kapoor was mainly a woman-centric film. How do you hold on your own in such kind of project?
By acting well, I guess I by doing my job well, and I was pleasantly surprised when they thought of me for the film. It was a little bit intimidating to be working with all these actors. They're very popular and they're such huge stars. Uh, but I guess, I mean, once you start working, you don't think about those things. You're only thinking about the scene you're in and what best you can do in that. Uh, but it was lovely working with them.
Okay. So, what are your thoughts on the rise of OTT and the impact of it in the industry in today's time as compared to earlier? Because you have spent quite some time in the industry now.
Yes. The one thing that beyond all the new content and the new stories and the new actors and directors and artists it has sort of exposed the audience to, it gave you the convenience of being able to watch content at your own time in your own space. Uh, so that I think is the biggest draw for the OTT, that you can
Okay.
watch anything at any time you want. Because back in the day we were used to, you had to be present at a certain place. If there
Sure.
is a TV show, you had to be present in front of the TV at 7 p.m. to be able to watch that.
Sure.
Uh, but what OTT does is that, you can watch it on your phone or your iPad or your television or wherever you want
Anyway, of course.
at a time uh, you prefer. And And if you miss something, you can always pause and go back. So that is a convenience that the audience enjoys the most, I guess.
Sure.
And then also because it's on the internet, you're exposed to so many new varieties of stories. And I mean, you're watching a show made in Spain, and you're watching a show made in Korea, and then you're watching a show made in the UK and the US and India. So you get perspective, I guess. And I think how I see it is that it has helped makers in India to be able to experiment more because the audience is more open to new ideas.
Sure, exactly. Coming from there, from the time OTT has come into picture, there is so much of content to consume, and there are different type of content, like international, at the same time India. So, as an actor, okay, how do you know that what is going to work right now? Because so much to consume.
I mean, if there is one lesson that we as makers should learn from this, is that one should never approach a story thinking, will it work and who will it work with?
Sure.
Uh, you should rather tell the story that is coming from you. You know, Jallikattu was a film about certain village in the south, and it has worked for a larger audience. I just saw Beef on Netflix. It's a
Yeah.
show about Korean people living in Los Angeles, speaking in an American accent that is doing well in India. So clearly, that is not the mandate you should look at. Ki, will this work with this demographic audience, and will this work in the A centers and the B centers and the C centers? And this is all MBA jargon at the end of the day.
True.
At the end of the day, if it's a good film, it's a good film, and it is going to work, and it is going to connect with you because we are all human beings, and we are built with the same mechanism, with the same structure of a heart. So eventually, it will touch you.
Sure. How was the experience of playing antagonist in Appa?
It was great. It was a lovely, lovely experience. As an actor, you are constantly looking for parts where you don't play a version of yourself. You get to be someone else. You get to transform or rather transcend from who you are as a person. There is a deep desire to do that. So only when you play characters who are far removed from who you are uh, emotionally and financially and personality wise, and that's when you really get to explore your craft, and that's when you really get an opportunity to transcend from who you are and think differently and breathe differently, walk differently, behave differently. Uh, and that's very satisfying as an actor, be it a negative part or a positive part or a foolish part, it doesn't matter.
So something new, how do you research for it? Is there any kind of process that you follow to this is a negative and this is the way I'm going to prepare myself?
So firstly, I mean, I don't judge a character if it's negative or positive. That's the first step to take
Sure.
before you play a character. Because if you're going to judge a person before you even, then, you are going in with a bias.
Sure.
Like for you and me, if we think that a certain person, I don't know, a actor or a politician or a businessman, he's a villain. But for that person, he's not a villain. He's not living his life thinking, I'm the villain in 2023. That person is living a life thinking he is the hero in the story. So first you remove that and you empathize with the character. You try to understand where he comes from and what he thinks and why he thinks like that. Where was he raised? And you try to either research that character if it is based on a real life character, or you build a story around it. Uh, and then as a thumb rule, as a writer and actor, you're always observant of people, of behaviors, of how they behave in certain situations, of the way they speak, how they express themselves. Uh, Good people, bad people, funny people, tall people, short people. You're just looking at them with a slightly different lens from the common folk because you're always absorbing that. You're observing people's behavior because that might help you eventually when you're going to portray a character. So that sort of research is a, what do you call, is a default that is always on.
Okay. So you started your career with television. So how has television has changed in this last decade according to you?
I actually started my career in theater.
Okay.
I would do parts in television on and off because it paid my bills. And that was the only other place where they would cast me and pay me money.
Yes.
तो वो जरूर हो रहा था उस समय. But I did do a bunch of TV shows back in the day, and and I really enjoyed it. It's hard work. It's laborious because they have to churn out these many episodes and these many minutes of content every single day, and it's easier said than done. But I do think that it hasn't evolved as much as I would have liked it to. Let's just
Okay.
put it this way. In terms
Okay.
of the kind of stories they have all the money in the world and they have all the technology in the world and they have access to a lot of talent. But just the narrative style, the stories, and I do feel that they're somewhat stuck in a vicious cycle where they're playing it safe and they're unable to break out of it.
Okay.
Uh, Perhaps that's why OTT looked more lucrative, but because they weren't following any sort of say structure. So they were able to experiment and do weird shit,
Sure.
which people on television couldn't do. So I hope they find something, a show, a format in which they can evolve and maybe break out of this cycle that they are stuck in. So yeah, I do feel that about television.
So you think the audience is very different when it comes to OTT and television?
No, we're the same people. We're the same people. I mean, you and I are perhaps not the audience because, we are from the industry, so we are in it. So,
Sure.
it's like a chef going to a restaurant to eat. He's not the audience. He's a chef. No matter how simple he is, he would always try to deconstruct what has been served.
Of course.
But for the regular folk, it's the same. It doesn't matter if a good thing comes on television, they'll consume it. Like my mother the other day was consuming a TV show which she really likes, and then she also tells me that she watches films on OTT and she watches shows on OTT. So it's the same audience that's consuming either.
Sure.
Now they will go to the medium that serves them better food for thought, I guess.
Okay. So how did permanent roommate and tripling happen to you?
So I was doing a play, and a friend of mine, Nidhi Bisht, she used to work with TVF, and at the time, TVF was creating a lot of content online, and they used to make a lot of these videos and cutie appa videos, and they were very, very popular. And I saw some of them, and I really loved them. And then I told my friend that I would love to do it sometime if you. And she was like, "Oh, I didn't know if you would be interested." And I said, "Yeah, would you?" And then she came to me and she said, "We are trying to make this thing where it's like a series, and it's not been done here, but we are trying to attempt it. And if you'd like to, come and see if you want to do this." And I was already in it. I went, I met the people, I loved them, and we worked on this. It was an experiment that luckily worked for us. And yeah, I think it was the first web series, so to say, to come out of
Good.
India. And then because it worked so well, then TVF was really happy, and then they made a couple of other shows. They made pictures, and they made a bunch of other shows at the time. And then I was told that if you have another story in your mind, because they knew I also write. Uh, which involves a certain road trip, then it would help because they were looking for a story on that line, on those lines. And I did have a story at the time about these three siblings who were on a road trip and
Sure.
they sort of discover their relationship with each other and with themselves in the course of this road trip. That was the core idea. And Arnab Kumar, the founder of TVF, he seemed to really love it. And he said we should make the show. And he really backed us at the time. And I'm thankful to him.
Okay. So you received a critical acclaim for your performance in the movie Ribbon, opposite Kalki. How did you prepare for the role?
Actually, couldn't prepare for the role because they didn't want to follow a set script in the film. Rakhi wanted a Rakhi Sandilya, the director. She'd made a bunch of documentaries before, so she wanted to shoot the film in a very documentary-ish way. And so we did do a bunch of rehearsals before we actually went
Sure.
on shoot. We did have a script, a structure to follow, but I think 95% of the scenes were improvised.
Okay.
Uh, so we knew the situation, we knew everything, we knew our characters, and then we would just go and improvise the scene and try to, uh, finish it in a stipulated time. That's how we did it, and it was a great experience, very, very satisfying experience to work on the film. And yeah, and a lot of people seem to have watched it and really like it.
Okay. So any particular role which is very close to your heart so far, whatever you have done?
A lot of them. I mean, be choosing one of your babies, because you invest a lot of time and energy and emotion into everything you do, every role
Sure.
you do. A part of you goes into it, a part comes to you. So uh, I guess I do like playing Nikesh a lot. He's
Of
a
course.
very likable character. Uh, he's not like me, thankfully. He's more fun and more less complex, I guess. So I really like playing that part. I like playing my part in tripling. It's, I think, closer to who I am as a person on a lot of levels. I really liked the part I played in Afwa because after a long time, I got to really descend from who I am, and I got to really like sort of cut off from the world and just be in that world for a while. So that was a very enriching experience. Also, working with Sudhir Mishra was an absolute treat. I really enjoyed working with him, and
Sure.
I learned a bunch of things being on the set around him. So I guess these are one of the few roles that have really stayed with me.
Okay. So what are your upcoming projects? Tell us about it.
So one is there's the show with Applause Entertainment that we are doing. Goldie Bell is producing it, and Ken Ghosh is directing it.
Okay.
So one is that. Then I'm going to be starting the writing process of season 4 for Tripling.
Okay.
Uh, that I'm most likely tomorrow onwards we'll start working on that.
Oh
So
wow.
as of now, yes, these are the two things that are coming up, and hopefully we'll get to see them soon.
Okay. So lastly, what would be your advice to the budding actors?
I guess, I mean, it really help if you don't run after the benefits of being an actor. There are certain
Okay.
benefits that come. Once you are an actor and once you've done a bunch of things, and you're popular and people come and click selfies with you, and you get treated a little special. So it's very human to like that more and to chase that. But these are also things that come and go very quickly,
Sure.
and can be very heartbreaking for people. Uh, so if you're rather interested in the very act of acting, in the very craft of acting, and if you love what you do, and if you enjoy that, then I guess you'll break your heart less often, because you'll always be looking for the next project in which you can do something. And either if you don't find something, then you'll be wanting to create something. Uh, so you'll always be busy with creating something, and you'll not really be worried about what happens to it after that.
Of course.
That can be an easier approach, I guess.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Vyas. It was lovely, lovely talking to you. Thank you so much.